Hello everybody, welcome to our third edition of the Unified Bowling Strike Zone. Let's get into it. First, COVID guidance. No changes today. As of today, November the 16th, we're still pre-pandemic mode, so no change there. Again, a reminder, if you have any bowlers that are utilizing a ramp, an assistance device of any kind, you need to go through that formal accommodations hearing process with me. Check out the document that I've sent in the email or posted to your NSAA coaches login. There you can find that request for accommodation. We got to get that taken care of. I want to remind everybody that we have kind of a hierarchy of rules when it comes to unified bowling. We obviously have our NSAA Unified Sports Bowling Rules Manual, and anything listed in that manual supersedes and is basically the overarching rules book, if you will, of everything we do. But on that same note, there's a lot of things that are not covered in that manual, and as noted in the rules meeting, as noted in the beginning of that manual, we also follow Special Olympics, Unified Sports Bowling rules, and we also follow the United States Bowling Congress rules. And it's important to know that and remember that, because from time to time there's things that we fall back onto in that USBC rules book to make rulings on. Today's example I wanted to cover in something that I thought would be interesting for you to hear about is, what if we have a two-handed bowler, which a reminder, if you have a two-handed bowler, they still have to have that dominant hand in play because any hole that is drilled into that bowling ball has to be used. So it's not a two-handed push, but rather still a dominant hand. Anyway, if we have a two-handed bowler using that approach, the question is, can they move to a one-handed, single-hand delivery for a spare? This is something we've heard about throughout the state and had that question raised. The answer is yes, as long as the bowler is still using that same consistent dominant hand. So maybe it's a right-handed bowler, they use the two-handed approach and they're pushing off that right hand as dominant, and then they move to a single hand, right hand only for a spare. That is legal. So again, just a little bit of a case study today in case you have anybody in that situation. As I mentioned in previous weeks, the district host and sites and dates are posted on the web. They're linked in this week's Strike Zone. I wanted to briefly touch on districts, as I don't know if you'll get one of these Strike Zones next week with the Thanksgiving holiday. So a couple notes on districts, as we have some new teams and some new coaches. Number one, you get to send one team per school to districts, and that is a team of up to 5 participants. If you think about it, we have a Baker trio format, so you'll have 3 competing, and you can have up to as many 2 subs on that roster for districts and state. A reminder that your team composition has to follow the manual, where at a minimum you've got to send at least 1 athlete, and that athlete, if you only have 1, would bowl all the athlete frames 1, 4, 7, and 10 in each game. You can have more than 1 athlete, that way you have subs, but a minimum you got to have 1 athlete, and at a minimum you got to have 2 partners to compete. So kind of think through those things as you strategize and put forth your district entries, and feel free to reach out to me with questions. The other thing I want to remind everybody of, or if you're new, you will, when you go to districts, you will play 6 Baker games. So 6 10-framed games, and that will take roughly an hour to an hour and a half. And at the end of those 6 Baker games, we will, the host will track your total pinfall. The team with the highest total pinfall in each district will qualify for state. So if you are district champion, you knock down more pins than anybody else through 6 Baker trio games. Also, though, we have some wildcard qualifiers. New this year, think back to some of my previous communication, now we have 2 wildcard qualifiers because we need to get our qualifiers up to 8 teams. That's an ideal number. So we'll take our 6 district champions, and then we will add 2 wildcard qualifiers. And to get those 2 wildcard qualifiers, we will look at all of the district results across the state, and the top 2 scores left after we've crowned all of our district champions will be your wildcard qualifier. And they could come maybe from the same district, they could come from different districts. It just depends on the scores that day. So anyway, just a couple things on districts. If you're a new coach, if you're a new program, again, don't hesitate to reach out to me with questions about districts or anything in the postseason. And I hope you're all well. We'll talk soon.